Alright there guys, so it is international break time yet again, and it feels like it's only been 2 weeks since the last one. Maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like 2 weeks anyway. But what I thought I'd do is go through some claims that have come out on the internet. These do go back a fair bit, guys, but I also kind of think some of this news is older than like 3 or 4 days from when these reports came out. So what I'll do is we'll go through them, I'll talk about them, give my opinion, and then what I want from you guys is your opinions down in the comments. So let's get started on the ones I've got pulled up first. This one here is, which is this is on the Express. Liverpool smug as Moses Caicedo's agent shows first hint of Chelsea transfer regret. Now, it's not gone well, has it, for Caicedo as he's gone there. And Chelsea are having a difficult season yet again, as they did last year. So let's have a look. We'll go past all this stuff where they've fluffed it out a little bit, and we'll have a look at the quotes. So it says here, this is the agent speaking. Is it Manuel Sierra? Has admitted that both he and his client found it difficult to assist the Reds, right? And this is what he said. When Liverpool came and approached in that way, obviously Moises got dizzy. I got dizzy myself. And he said this in an interview on a YouTube channel named Football Sing Cassetta. But Chelsea were by our side at all times, asking us to go. They wanted an hour so that we could tell Brighton, so that they could match the offer, and they gave them an hour, and it ended in 2 days of negotiation. Sierra elaborated on how Klopp... So Klopp called Sierra to make them aware of his plans. It is very complicated. Imagine that Jurgen Klopp is writing to you and that Liverpool is calling you. We are talking about something very big. That is one of the best teams in the world, just like Chelsea, and with a more established and more stabilised project than what Chelsea have today, which is a very ambitious project with a view to 2/3 years ahead. And then it goes on to say about Endo, yada yada yada. So basically that's the quotes there, guys. Now, there's two ways you can look at this. Us, as Liverpool fans, are going to look at that and be like, too late, you've gone type thing. However, if this was a player that Liverpool had signed and he was saying these type of things about another club that he could have potentially gone, say we signed Caicedo, right? And he was saying this about Chelsea and our results were the same as Chelsea. You would think, I'm taking it this way, I could be wrong, put your comments down below, that this is leaving the door open of potentially moving to Liverpool in the future. Now, as he says here, the offer for Liverpool was dizzy. Now, that must be personal terms. You can't think that that's something to do with transfer fee. It was reported at the time that Liverpool were willing to match Chelsea's wages for the player and whatnot. However, it does seem afterwards that Chelsea offered obviously the agent a better deal and the player more money in the end and a long-term contract, so he gets more money in the long term as well. And yeah, as much as he says what he said here, I think the comments here where he goes on about, what is it he says, Liverpool are one of the best teams in the world, they've got a more established and more stabilised project than Chelsea. You've got to think that he's basically gone for the money. But yeah, let's see what happens in the future there. I do kind of take that in a way is that the agent is trying to leave the door open to a potential move to Liverpool in the future if this Chelsea move doesn't pick up. Chelsea, last I looked, were they outside the top 10? Can you imagine all these players that just got on board? Would they still want to be there after another season of not being in the Champions League? I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens down there with all these players attached to these 8-year contracts. Players won't be able to get out of them. The team won't be able to move them on, for the transfer fees they bought them for. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how that works out down there. But it's not for us to worry about, I'd say. Next up, what have we got here? It says that Liverpool are leading the race to sign 22-year-old midfielder for at least €40 million. Now, this is about Thuram. It's a player that Liverpool were obviously chasing in the summer. Apparently, the wages and the agent fee were something that put Liverpool off. But Liverpool seem to be still being mentioned with him. Is that just his agent keeping the fires burning to make it look like Liverpool are interested, to get other clubs interested to take a look at him? Or is there something behind this? Now, let's have a look what it says. So, Thuram was also linked with the Merseyside club, and claims back in July stated that they appreciate his profile. Although the deal didn't take shape in the summer, he still seems to be on the Reds' agenda. And that's according to Tutto Juve, who state Liverpool are among the clubs in the chase for him. They also mention City, PSG, Dortmund and Newcastle. And the report says that the Magpies will be challenging Liverpool and the Old Lady in the hunt for the French international, blah, 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 blah. The Frenchman has a deal until 2025, and the outlet explains that a fee of at least 40 million euros, which I think now is about 36 million pounds, is needed to sanction the move from Nice. And they've not made no mention whether Liverpool or any other club want to meet that price. He operates a central midfielder. He's made 6 starts in the league this season. And that's your lot for that report there, guys. Now, Thuram. For me, guys, putting it this way, I think that the fact we signed Ryan Gravenberch kills the Thuram stuff. They're a very similar player, in my opinion. They probably take up a very similar role in the squad. You know, we've got Elliott, we've got Jones. I don't think we need that type of profile in the team anymore. I think that Thuram's time to move to Liverpool is gone. I think Liverpool will be looking for a different type of player to come into the midfield now. So, yeah, I wouldn't put much behind that at all whatsoever. If things were to change, you know, for instance, if we were to move on a Curtis Jones, for instance, or Harvey Elliott, then potentially, yeah, Thuram could come in. But right now, I just don't think it's a type of player that we need to bring in right now. Next up, let's have a look at this one. Antonio Silva. So, this is Record, a Portuguese paper. Now, the Portuguese paper, this Record, is one of the papers that I think as well were one of the first to be on the Diaz and the Nunes moves to Liverpool. Now, they are reporting that Liverpool and Man United are both keen on Benfica defender Antonio Silva. However, he's not too keen on the move to either club. Let's read a bit more into this. It is said that even though the defender welcomes the English club interest, he isn't dazzled by their chase, especially because he sees Real Madrid as the greatest club in Europe and they are interested in signing him too. The paper writes that Silva was in no hurry to leave Benfica, and his attitude regarding the market makes the Eagles calm about his situation. The player is protected by a €120 million euros release clause, and it will take a lot of money to convince the Eagles. It will take the release clause, regardless of whether it's Man United, Liverpool or Real Madrid who come in for him. Now again, I think €120 million is about £110 million for a 19-year-old defender. Now, if I remember rightly, this lad was mentioned of us back in the summer. We were looking at a few players at Benfica, if I remember rightly. Florentino Luis, that's the one. We've signed a lot of players from Portugal over the past few years. Diaz, Nunes, Jota's obviously Portuguese himself. And we are linked to a few Portuguese players as well. Pedro Neto, Inacio, and they all seem to be represented by Gestifute, one of the big agencies out there. Liverpool seem to have a lot of players that are represented by them. I think Darwin Núñez, Jota, Fabinho, who we've obviously just had there, a few just off the top of my head. I've got a funny feeling that Diaz might be as well. I don't know why Canate is coming to me, but I don't think, maybe Canate is not. But yeah, and that's Jorge Mendes, the lad who's the agent who had a lot of influence at Wolves at one point. Pedro Neto, again, was a player Liverpool were linked through with him a few years back now. Maybe we might see something about him coming up soon if Salah was to be sold. What are your thoughts on that? Pedro Neto as a Salah replacement? Yes? No? I know he's had a few bad injuries, but I think he's only still young, 23, so could be one to watch as well. But this Antonio Silva stuff, there's no quotes in here, it's just hearsay. You would think that Liverpool, having a decent relationship with the agency, would be well aware of everything that's going on with this player. It would be one on their watch list, you would think, especially with us needing potentially a Virgil van Dijk successor, which I think this kid could be if he were to come in. He's 19 years of age, as I said, and he's very good at playing the ball out from the back and dinking them balls over like Van Dijk used to do a few years ago. So he could be something to come in about Van Dijk, he really could be. However, this release clause, and you've got to think, no matter how good a relationship is Liverpool have with this agency, I can't see him spending 120 million euros on a 19-year-old centre-back. It'd make him the most expensive centre-back in the world. And no matter how good a relationship we've got, that agency would have been well aware of the release clause when it was signed in the contract. They would have either asked for it or just agreed to it anyway because they were going to get a payday out of it. And in all fairness, this kid to me does have Real Madrid written all over him if he was to be moved on pretty soon. Real Madrid are building a very young, good side there, and I just think he'd fit in really well at Real Madrid. Next up, we've got, what's this one? Agent confirms Liverpool interest in player and hints at a potential January transfer. Talks are ongoing. This is from the 6th of October. I can't pronounce his name. Liverpool were in talks to sign Piero Hincape from Bayer Leverkusen this summer before scrapping the idea to focus on their midfield. This is according to the player's agent Manuel Sierra, the Caicedo agent, and they scrapped it to focus on midfield. Hold on a minute. He confirmed the transfer interest from Liverpool in comments relayed by Bolivia. The player is one of the young rising defensive stars in the Bundesliga and indeed Europe, having established himself since he moved to Bayer Leverkusen in August 2021. His performances have not gone unnoticed and he's regularly been linked to a move to the Premier League, with Arsenal and Tottenham also interested. They were replaced by Liverpool in the summer transfer window, with the Reds undergoing a rebuild following a disappointing campaign. 3 reports across August made it clear that Liverpool were interested in the centre-back, with the last making it clear that a completely informal offer would be needed to get immoral offer would be needed to get him out of Bayer Leverkusen. What the hell does that mean? That never happened, as the Reds instead spent their money rebuilding a midfield that had been short by the departures of Henderson and Fabinho. It now seems the deal was scrapped because of that, with Sierra confirming that talks were held across the summer. Liverpool were interested in him, but at that time they chose to invest in the midfield. For January, they are talking like other clubs, it will be less than 50 million. This is what the agent said. Now, for me, I'm just putting this out there right now. I think after the Caicedo debacle, and this might actually link into the Caicedo stuff, after the Caicedo debacle, I think Liverpool just walked away from this agent because Liverpool don't like to be messed about by agents. That was kind of the reason why I think Liverpool missed out on a few players in the past. Ryan Gravenberch before he went to Bayern Munich, De Ligt, I can't remember, I think it was Renato Sanchez as well, because they were all represented by what's he called now? He was Haaland's agent as well. He's recently passed away. You know what I'm talking about, guys. He was an agent that was the Pogba agent as well, and Liverpool did not like doing business with him at all whatsoever. Is it Raniola? I think it's Raniola, isn't it? That was the agent. I think so. But now that company's been taken over by another person. Don't remember her name, and she was obviously spotted at Anfield with the whole in January for Ryan Gravenberch, so that deal was obviously going to happen at some point, and I think she was kind of involved with Thuram as well with Liverpool, but again that deal fell through. Now back to this one, I personally believe that this deal might be dead in the water just because of what happened with Liverpool being messed about with the agent regarding Caicedo, and the reason why I said this might tie into the Caicedo news is that might be why he's justifying it, to try and get Liverpool to come back for this player. That might be a little bit tinfoil hat, but let me know about your thoughts on that, guys, in the comments below. For less than 50 million for a new centre-back, potentially, guys, I think he's a pretty good player. Liverpool could have signed Inacio for, was it like 40 million euros or something? But he's just signed a new deal with a 60 million euro release clause in it. And I think Antonio Silva as well is too much at the price he's been touted around at. So maybe one to watch, guys, for the January window. And then lastly, we've got the article today from James Pearce about McAllister. He's a fantastic player for Liverpool, but he's not best as a 6. Now, I don't really want to go over this whole thing because it's quite a lengthy article. But basically it goes on about how McAllister is a really good player, but he's been wasted in the number 6 role. Now, for me, I agree with this 100%. I've been waiting for the time where it's Szoboszlai and McAllister picking up the roles further up in this box midfield that we do now. You know, obviously we've signed Endo, who, let's be honest, has not really hit the ground running. And we could have played Endo and, did I say Hendo first time? Endo and Trent together in the bottom of the double pivot, and then McAllister and Szoboszlai. But the Endo situation's not worked out. McAllister's having to drop back a bit more, and I think he's kind of suffering for it. And I think against Brighton, us as a team also suffered. Now, is this going to be something that Liverpool addresses in January? I think potentially yes, and this is what ties into the whole Thuram thing I was on about earlier, where Liverpool are after another midfielder. I think Liverpool need to go out and sign another 6. That will free up McAllister to move further forward. It'll give Endo more time to settle and become more established and learn a bit more on how we want to play. And I think it'll also free up Trent to bomb forward a bit more as well and get more involved further up the pitch if we were to bring in some sort of defensive destroyer. Now, I personally think that player could be Andre, who's playing in Brazil at the moment, in the Copa Libertadores. He could be in the final of that, I think. He's only young. I think that there was an article that came out not long ago saying that, from their president, saying that Liverpool did put an offer in for him, but were told we're not going to sell him now. Come back and speak to us in December or January, and you can have him then basically when our season's over. I think that could be someone to watch in the January transfer window, guys, is that Andre and potentially a centre-back. Let's see what happens with that. And I think that we'll call that at the end of this video, guys, to be fair. Let me know in the comments down below your opinions on all the players we've just covered off. Do you think Liverpool will sign a number 6 in January or potentially a centre-back? No one else will probably end up signing a forward like we did last year. But anyway, guys, let me know down in the comments down below what you think on all of this, and I will catch you in the next one.